this video, I'm going over my top 5 favorite podcasts about sex ed. Coming up. Hey, if we haven't met before, my name is Johann. And on this channel, you'll find helpful tips and strategies to improve your self-care, as well as podcast reviews just like this one. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Also, at any point in the video, make sure you check out the links and show notes in the video description about today's topic, okay? Let's begin. The Sexology podcast with Dr. Nazanin Moali talks about the science of sex, from our psychological behaviors, how our body works, and how subconsciously we may find something that stimulates our arousal, but even though it could be wrong. For example, on episode 119, the hottest sex scenes in the Game of Thrones and what you can learn from them, Dr. Moali talks about how the show is filled with a lot of sexual scenes that can arouse almost anyone. Some of these scenes you might come across as wrong, but your physiological arousal will say otherwise. Now, I'm not trying to spoil the whole episode for you. You gotta check it out for yourself. But she did say this: just because you're physiological aroused doesn't mean that you're all into it. The next podcast is called Room for Relations with relationship therapist Ebony Harris. On that podcast, Ebony and her friends have some very thought-provoking topics, as well as debates, so you can actually see different things from different side views. What I like about these discussions is that it's super casual and it's filled with humor in the process. On episode 430, there's an episode called Bugatti Girls. And in that episode, they talk about how bad sex can affect good relationships and how good relationships doesn't always mean good sex. They also have a debate on whether sexting is overrated or underrated. Now, as far as the term Bugatti Girls, I don't want to spoil that neither, so you got to make sure you check out that episode to figure out why and who are these Bugatti Girls. And who knows, you might end up knowing a Bugatti girl somewhere. I'm pretty sure you do. Pretty sure. The next podcast is called The Sex Wrap with sexologists Spring and Andrew. What I really like about this podcast is that it's not very long and it's easily wrapped up. You see what I did there? Wrapped up. It's because, it's wrapped up. You wrap your willies. It's easily wrapped up and digestible if you don't have enough time. Each of their episodes are based on a question from their audience. And both Spring and Andrew answer those questions with such compassion and is filled with so much tips. For example, in their 69th episode, how do I ask my boyfriend to go down on me without feeling guilty? Now, a lot of people go through this situation, mostly women. Some know that communication is key, right? You feel like that's the only way to solve, or one of the ways to solve that issue. But they go a lot deeper than that. And if you want to get and hear that advice, I highly recommend you check out that episode. Have you ever listened to something once and then instantly like it like that? This next podcast is one of those podcasts. And I'm talking about the podcast Sex Talk with My Mom. Yeah, that title alone says a lot. Now, don't judge the name. The podcast is out of this world. Now, I don't know about you, but some people are embarrassed to talk to their parents about sex compared to like how they would talk to it with their friends. I might feel a bit awkward doing that, and I'm pretty sure most of you would too. But these two people are the exceptions. This mother and son relationship are so open about sex that it's so inspiring to see. It's refreshing, rather. Now, to be honest and to be fair, I've only listened to one episode, but that one episode only got me hooked already, and I can't wait to actually dive into more of these episodes and learn more about them and, the tips and strategies that they have for their audience. And the episode I've listened to was episode 200. Yes, their 200 episode. Now, based on that 200 episode, they had some guests. Actually, when I say they, I'm talking about the hosts, Cam and Karen Lee Potter. I got so excited about this podcast that I actually forgot to mention their names earlier. Some great job I'm doing, right? Anyways, so they have their guests and they basically talk about what they like about the show. Based on their answers, I can tell that these two people are friggin' funny, caring, and just passionate about what they do. And able to just see that mother-son dynamic and just freely being open. Highly recommend you check out this podcast. Highly recommended. Now, this next podcast is very special to me. It's something that's very close to my heart. It's one of the first podcasts that I've ever listened to in my life at the age of 19. I'm talking about the podcast no other than Sex Nerd Sandra, hosted by Sandra Daughtry. The more I listened, the more I got hooked. The more I was willing to learn more. Now, as I said before, I was 19 when I first heard this podcast. I remember putting my headphones in, pressing play on the podcast button, and just hearing her voice just fill my brain with just knowledge. It's because of Sandra I make these type of sexual content, because I'm willing to learn more and share what I'm learning with others. Sandra does an excellent job of just exploring different topics. Topics about sex, about love, about relationship, just the love of human nature. Now, when it comes to my favorite episode, I don't have any. And that's because I really like each and every single content she puts out. At the time of this video recording, she isn't as active on the podcast scene. However, she has over 200 episodes already uploaded, so there's enough for everyone to just indulge into. Trust me, it's damn good. If you are going to indulge in these episodes, I highly recommend that you do nothing. When I say you do nothing, I mean like you literally just lay down there and just chill, plug it in, put it in your speaker, your Bluetooth speaker, whatever it is, and just kick back, relax, and give it a listen. Trust me, it's really good. Sandra, if you're watching this, definitely give her podcast a listen, or any of the other podcasts I mentioned before, to level up your learning about sex ed. Yeah, I got the juice. But your physiological title, Bugatti Girls. Bugatti Girls. She was like so knowledgeable, and it was just all blah 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 blah. I'm babbling right now.